What's up? My name's Leighton Flatt.
Name's Levi Light.
We're two stand-up comedians from Springfield, Missouri. This is our first shot at a podcast. This is where we take a topic each week, and we have a 10-minute timer to discuss that topic. Are you ready?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Like I start recording the audio and you stop singing. You
All
play. You're
right.
like, no, it was terrible for the audio on there.
Back again. Here we are, back on the old couch. You know what I mean?
This is a different day than last time.
Yeah. So this is today's topic, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about junk cars and junk car funny stories. You want to go first or want me to go first?
You kick her off.
Cool.
But, yeah.
So my favorite is I have a few cars and they're all weird, but I've got an old Grand Marquis, and it basically I was on a show run in Ardmore, Oklahoma when my power steering went out. And then for the last 2-3 years, it just goes in and out sometimes. And it really depends on what kind of driving you're doing, how hard it is. But when it goes out, it's like by the might of Zeus that you'll make certain turns. Like if you're trying to pull out of a tight parking spot, forget about it. And we can't figure out what's wrong with it. But we did learn that if you just take it on a long road trip and take it 90 around some tight corners, it'll loosen back up.
It just gets. Yeah, it's fine. It works now.
Yeah, and
I mean,
so
if we don't take it out this next weekend, it'll probably tighten back up again.
Every time someone's like, "Oh, it's loose, it's tight," I was like, "Well, time to go to Fort Worth, baby."
Gotta drive it. We'll get there. Yeah.
So my favorite was I didn't know that's how it worked. It had been out for 2 months.
It shouldn't work like that.
No,
just so
no,
we're
my
clear.
car is
I don't know how that's. It's just I still remember whenever that first just came back, I started laughing and I just went, "Oh, it gets stronger the more we drive it."
Yeah.
It's just I remember something started the charger or something started working again, and I was like, "What is that?" It's just coming back to life.
But we were driving to a show in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and I was like, "Hey, power steering came back on that last turn," and Levi goes, "The what did the what on that last turn?" We haven't had power steering. I was like, "No, we haven't had power steering for the last few shows."
To be fair, we've been going straight most of it. It's a highway, so.
And no matter what, if it does get tight, Levi never remembers. We could be driving all weekend like that with a tight
That's
power
why
steering.
I hate driving it, because if it goes out surprisingly, I'm just going to give up and hit the wall. You know
And
what I mean?
I have done that. I definitely have hit a wall or two because it's like,
Oh, I'm just going to start to go, it's broken. Whack. You know what I mean? That's my first reaction is, it doesn't work.
That car's way too long to have, to be whipping it like that. It's way too long of a car.
And maybe if you had power steering, not without.
Yeah, without, dude, you get them arms.
I mean,
going.
you can get a quarter turn, but you're using the full arm.
Doing a drive-through, forget about it. You just go inside.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. Yeah, I'm sitting over there leaning over trying to help you turn it.
We for sure have done a four-armed turn.
Dude. I still love the times on the highway when you're sitting there trying to light your cigar, and I'm just we keep swerving over and hitting the rumble strips, and I'm just I just grab the wheel and I'm like, we're good. I just say something.
We have taken that Marquis to Ohio, Texas, maybe Texas.
No.
I've taken it to Texas.
I was gonna say we took
Alabama.
The Fiat when we went. Well, no, the second time. I think the second time we took the old Jeep.
Okay, yeah, but it has been gone to Fort Worth, Alabama, Ohio, South Dakota, Omaha. And dude, probably Arkansas. We've done a lot in that car.
Yeah.
I don't know about. I don't know a lot about your old cars. But I think my favorite is you were talking about your work vehicle stories. I think those are my favorite junk cars that you've got.
I have worked for some people that treated me poorly, and then also gave me keys to expensive trucks. Let me put it this way: they didn't give me the keys to the expensive ones first. You know what I mean? Gave me the keys to the junk ones, and then I was like, these things are falling apart. And they were like, well, I guess you get this truck. And I'm like, damn right. That one, the one that I'd driven a stick before, but it had been years and always in a smaller car, never in a truck. So this is it's like a big F-250. It's a different transmission.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's a big truck to be driving like that.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there getting used to it with a full trailer loaded down with a bunch of mowers and stuff. So, I mean, it's getting it out of neutral into first is you got to know what you're doing. This thing's a little finicky. So a lot of da, 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 da. looking like an idiot, grown man. Just everyone, just like guys driving by, like just shaking their heads, like what a loser.
Trailer.
Oh, dude, it's the mowers are bobbing. I mean, the whole thing's shaking. And it's like, so yeah, bad. And it gets to the point to where I find, and what's funny is any of the other stick trucks that we had, you get in, I can put them in first go. It was nothing. That one, it was just something. If you didn't do it perfect,
Wow,
dude, that one made me so mad. The AC was non-existent. The heat was terrible. Like it would just, when it fogged up, the heat didn't work. So it fogged up. You just can't see. Pull over, I guess. You know. Yeah, they complained because you're going too slow. It's like I can't win. So then, yeah, one day I'm stuck driving it to like Branson or something, going down 65 down the highway, and it didn't. I was having to downshift because of those hills.
Yeah.
And it was making me mad because it wouldn't go. It didn't like to downshift into second. And if you drop down to first, like, you know what I mean, you're going 10 miles. Yeah, you're going 10 miles an hour up this hill screaming.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like I'm having to drop down to second and stuff to get up these hills, and it's like it just won't go in. And I mean, dude, after a while, your leg starts hurting. You're like, I hate this. And you you're like, I'm going to see if it just throws in reverse. You know what I mean? Going 70, 80 miles an hour downhill, just pop that clutch down, feel that thing just start free spinning. It's in neutral, and you just drive it over and just just feel like grinding those teeth off. And you're like, no, you shouldn't have sent me to Branson in this piece of crap. It turns out it won't go in. But I did look it up.
Dude, what would have happened if you would have got it in reverse at 80 miles an hour?
If it gets in, the tires lock immediately. Best case scenario, the transmission immediately will just drop, and then I free roll for a while. But what probably happens is it locks up and I front flip.
Ooh.
I'm assuming that if you stop that hard that quick with that much weight, it's like the inertia is just going to keep it going.
God.
But yeah, I don't know. I didn't know that, and I was young and angry. So
I love it, dude. So here's my other favorite. This is a shared with one of our junk cars. I mean, I guess that first one was too, but
yeah.
One of our alternate tour vehicles in the past has been a Lincoln Town Car, which is just the fancy version of my Marquis.
Yeah.
But it has not had AC, and it was the only vehicle we could take, and it's all leather. So I remember like we would do shows, and it would be like the vibe. Like I don't know if you said this, but the vibe would be like, "Hey Levi, I need you to pull up the maps," and you'd be like, "Levi," and Levi'd be like, "I'm sorry, what? I was just thinking about not being in this car anymore."
I'm so miserable. I hate it.
You'd be stuck to the seat.
What kind of person doesn't have air conditioning in a car?
And it would be like, we'd be August driving it. You know?
What am I, a peasant? Like it goes back to one of your jokes. Like this is
like what's funny too is like you'd had to play a game of windows down was your AC, right? Like all the way down is full max AC.
And on the highway going 75, 80, it's just like, oh, is it loud? Yeah, my ears are blowing out, but it does feel nice.
Yeah, you get one of it. You get to either be kind of cool, or your ears are just rah!
Yeah. Everyone else in the car is like, I can't hear the song. Again.
Conversations. Your voice is shot before you get to the show.
I don't know, half the time I'll be talking, and then you just lean and stick your entire upper body out of the car, and I'm like, I was all right. Well, that's good. I'm done talking.
It's a lot, dude.
Yeah.
My favorite was I have an old 97 F-150, and the radio when I got into it completely rusted out, and so I would trick people. When you would go to like, I don't like this song, and you go to turn it down, it would turn all the way up.
No, I have the exact same one sitting underneath my bed because I took it out of my truck. Like mine's like a generation newer, but it's the same CD player radio.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Yeah.
And then it would get stuck on Fiesta music, and they'd go like, "Oh, I gotta turn this off," and it would just crank.
Yeah. It's like the trick is you have to go really slow or really fast. Like you have to trick it.
Did you ever have one of those cars you could take the car out of the ignition while you were driving?
Okay. No, dude, I had a buddy who drove an old one of them little tiny like Nissan pickups, like little quarter tons.
Yeah.
He had one of those that he had rattle canned black. And
that's what you have to do that with those old Nissans.
Dude, I remember asking him, I was like, hey, man, I need to go move your truck. It's in the way. Like, we were having a little party or whatever. And I was like, I gotta go move your truck, you know? And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, where's the keys? And he goes, oh, there are no keys. And I'm like, what? Like this is like the start of like it's $80,000 BMW might have had a push button. You know what I mean? So it's like that doesn't.
Right,
So
right. Even then, there's still a key that has.
Well,
to
I was
be there.
looking at him like, what do you mean there's no key? And he goes, oh, just the knife in the center console. I'm like, what? There's a giant boot knife that he just keeps like under the middle seat because it's like a bench seat. That's what he called the center console, was underneath the bench.
There was no console.
Yeah, that's the center console. But yeah, so you pull his boot knife out and you just stick it into the ignition and turn it.
And it worked flawlessly?
Yeah. It turns out you could use a screwdriver.
Right. I've heard
anything.
that you can like my buddy.
Seriously, it's actually easy. Like with the key, like you kind of have to like extend your wrist a little more.
Yeah.
This one, you just kind of grab the knife like at a little bit of an angle, jam it in, and just do that. It was like on a motorcycle. You know what I mean? Just a little bit of wrist movement. Boom, start right up.
Imagine being in a car wreck with that thing. No.
I'll get the knife. I got to start this thing back up.
Yeah.
Oh, it's in my gut.
Yeah. Like what are we? Dude, it's a Nissan. At least have it be a samurai sword.
I had it's so much fun that I had so little supervision when I was like turning into a man.
I can freaking get, dude. That's a new one for me. I've heard. So like my friend was a drug dealer in like the '80s, and he would steal Volkswagen Beetles. He said because you could literally just take a screwdriver, wham it in there, and they just hide them around town. They're like, hey, you want a car? There's a Volkswagen parked on 3rd and Main.
I want to move somebody's smart car. You know what I mean? Just get like 8 dudes and then just pick it up and just move it somewhere. Like that is just hilarious to me.
Speaking of junk cars, I've heard those are not like the greatest. I want one. I do want one, but I've heard that they're not the car.
I'm not one that's like, oh, I gotta have a big truck because I'm a man, but like that's too far the other way for me. It's like it's too much.
What's the one junk car you're like, I'm not touching it. For me, it's the Chevy Cavalier. Those things are ugly. You've never seen one where the muffler's not swinging back and forth.
If I had the time and the money, I could donk out a Cavalier. I'm not gonna I could. For me, it's anything. You're gonna hate this, but anything with the catfish front end from the '90s. The 80s was bad. Well, like the Ford Taurus from back then, or even like the F-150s kind of had it.
Yeah.
It's just it looked like a fat catfish that's just sitting there like murr.
I agree. Those are pretty rough.
For me, it's not even. I will say like how a car functions means a lot, but like if it looks meh, it might as well not run. You know what I mean? Like I don't want this.
And this is why we tour and what we do. But hey, we're like at 12 minutes now.
Eventually, this is going to turn into a 15-minute podcast on accident.
Any closing thoughts? I like my junk cars, man. That's all I've ever had. I mean, it's like no AC, dents in the side. Ain't nobody trying to steal my car.
I would love it if we could get a sponsor for our road trips where we just popped up like GoPros or whatever all over the car, and it was just us. Like the purpose was to drive a junk car across the country.
I'm so in.
In.
If you want to do that, we would do that in a heartbeat.
We're gonna have to leave early, so whenever it breaks down and we're fixing it on the side of the road, and I'm cussing and he's not. We have time to get there still. So.
All right, well, cool. I enjoyed this one. Hey, we'll be back.
It is true color show.